I'm sure you heard putting out fires.
Yeah.
Every day there's some kind of ridiculous problem, and you have to come up with a solution. And the more experience you get in being a business owner or an entrepreneur or part of a team, the 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 more effective you are at doing that. And I feel like that's what separates successful business owners from those that aren't, like your resourcefulness. So it's everything. My wife calls me, she goes, "We don't have enough chicken for dinner." I'm like, Jesus Christ. Now we've got this problem because everybody was expecting it, and there is a solution, and I have to, and she always feels bad. She's like, "I know." And my wife is a very successful entrepreneur, so it's like, "What, did you forget how to do that?" But yeah, I think maybe for that one it's the hair thing, because there was no product, so I made it. The big obstacle that we face, for at least for my personal relationship with my wife, was I was already in manufacturing. I've been manufacturing for 18 years. I had the ability to make products. So I'm making skincare products at Paris Hilton. In the meantime, my wife and I decided to have our first child together. As a guy, I've experienced hair loss since I was 19, 20 years old. It took me years to get over that. But as I got older and realized that that kind of stuff doesn't really matter, I got okay with it. When we had our child, and a few months after the birth, she started losing her hair. Not only could I relate to how she felt, I could imagine how much more detrimental it was to her being a woman, because I think women identify with their hair much, much more than most men. And it's that outward appearance thing. Whether or not it's right, it's how it is. When my wife started experiencing all this hair loss and thinning in the back of her head, and this hair would just fall out in the clumps, I realized my solution for this was not going to work for her. Shaving your head, not unless I would say G.I. Jane, but I don't want to go down that path. Not unless it would be a fashion statement for her, but not likely. She also couldn't use the products I was using. I wasn't, if you're using a prescription product as a man, obviously that's a no-go for most women. But I was using Rogaine over the counter, but still, it just wasn't a product we wanted to use for her. So I really was perplexed that there was nothing readily at the tip of your tongue that you'd say, that's the product for a woman experiencing that issue. And she isn't the only woman to have a baby. So I quickly reached out to my lab and started putting together a product to help her. Something that was going to actually give her a result, but not affect her in a way that would be detrimental to her hormone levels, or she was, feeding at the time, whatever it was. There were a lot of challenges to that. One of the biggest ones was I had to learn what a woman would tolerate for her hair regimen. Would she tolerate something that's greasy and runny? The original Rogaine, if you've ever used it, is greasy and runny. You have to change your hairstyle. With her, not only did I have to take a crash course in what women expect, I also had to learn how women style their hair, how their regimens work, the frequency of shampooing. Anyway, created a pretty comprehensive solution for her specific problem. She used it, and it worked. And it worked very well for her. And it was in a little unmarked bottle. Over the course of half a year, some of her friends had their own children, and they ended up asking her for the same thing. So I would just make it for them too, unlabeled, in a bottle. Said my last name on it, because in the lab, we had to differentiate. Fast forward 5 or 6 months after that, I realized this is a product that you can turn into a solution that can be a viable solution for any woman, or anybody having a child. So we ended up building a brand around it. That's an example of it. I would say not necessarily an extreme case, but a case, a problem that was personal, that turned into a much larger opportunity for us, and a solution that continues today to evolve into a product line. It continues to evolve for many things, because from there you have women that say, oh yeah, I lost my hair when I had a kid. You have some women saying, I've overplucked my eyebrows. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could overpluck your eyebrows. I didn't even know you plucked your eyebrows. So, from there, that original solution to a very specific problem has, it has spawned 7 or 8 other additional products for women or people that experience those types of issues.